Some book catalog watches, some books celebrate history, and then there is the Collectibles, which is a book that does both. But more importantly, it reframes what a watch book can be. This volume isn't about telling time. It's about experiencing history through watches that once defined the craft, society, and style in their area. Watches restored, curated, and contextualized by Jaeger-LeCoultre itself. Today, we're diving deep into that book and what it really means, especially for collectors, historians, and anyone who wonders how nostalgia, authenticity, and design collide on a wrist. The 7th episode of Watches and Politics Series 1, it was inspired mostly by this book and the capsule it represents. Unlike most books that focus on one author's voice, the Collectibles is a manufacturer-authored reference work produced by Jaeger-LeCoultre's historians and archivists. This is a lavish coffee table volume spread across roughly 600 pages and housed in a deluxe format that signals serious collectors' intent. It's not simply a visual catalog, it's a curated chronicle of 17 emblematic timepieces produced during Jaeger-LeCoultre's golden age, roughly from the 20s to the 70s, with deep dives into their evolution, technical context, and also cultural significance. In short, it's a reference book, it's a storyteller, it's a heritage archive, and it's aimed at collectors, curators, and curious minds alike. The origin of the Collectibles book is inseparable from the Collectibles program itself, an initiative by Jaeger-LeCoultre to celebrate and restore historical timepieces from its archives and private collections and present them as a capsule collections for sale. Rather than mere reproduction, each watch in this program is vetted by JLC's historical experts. It is fully serviced and restored by their master watchmakers and delivered with its own archival extract. Often, its original box and papers are also included and a copy of this book itself. This is important because it transforms the book from a static archive into a living bridge between vintage and contemporary collector culture. The book is organized into 17 chapters, each dedicated to one of the most significant watches in Jaeger-LeCoultre's 20th century output. These chapters do more than list their specs. Each one explores the historical context of the watch's creation, its design and technical innovation, how it reflected the cultural forces of its era, and why it matters today. Among the watches explored are the duoplan, a miniaturized architecture that shaped early wristwatch design. Then there is Reverso, the iconic Art Deco reversible case with sport origins. Then is the Memovox alarm watches, which are practical and cultural tools for mid-century life. Then comes Futurematic, a crownless landmark in automatic design. Then it goes to Geophysic and Geomatic, a precision tools tied to scientific exploration, and vintage Polaris and Memovox variants that define outdoor sports style. That range tells you right away this is not a book about one watch, it's a book about how a manufacturer's output intersects with culture over time. Where many books focus solely on reference numbers and calibers, the Collectibles works on multiple levels. Chronological narrative, showing how design evolved over decades. Social context, linking watches to times and events. Technical precision, explaining why and how each innovation matters. Visual archival detail, including original advertisements and manufacturing documents. restoration philosophy, literally showing how objects are reborn. This narrative density is part of why serious collectors consider the book as a reference work as well as a storytelling medium. Here's the subtle political dimension that this book exposes, and we covered in the 7th episode of Watches and Politics Series 1. A manufacturer that cares for its past invests in its cultural capital. By restoring these 17 watches and publishing their stories, Jaeger-LeCoultre is not just selling nostalgia, they're curating cultural memory. That's soft power, the ability to shape what is remembered, valued, and considered authentic in watchmaking culture. This is a quiet form of influence that doesn't perform loudly, but guides taste, scholarship, and market preference nonetheless. For many collectors, the Collectibles book serves a triple purpose. Reference, because it detailed history and technical context for key models. Provenance, archival documentation that bolsters collector confidence. And also emotional clarity, stories that help collectors feel why a watch matters. Instead of just saying this model is rare, the book helps you understand why and how it became so. That's the difference between ownership and appreciation. The narrative thread running through the book and through the entire Collectibles program is not arbitrary selection. Jaeger-LeCoultre's curators chose watches for innovation, cultural resonance, historic impact, and aesthetic identity, not just age or rarity. This makes this book different from a typical brand history. It doesn't just say, hey, look what we made. It explains why each of these 17 watch models defined a moment in watchmaking history. The Collectibles isn't making a living argument. A watch is not simply a tool of timekeeping. It is a cultural artifact shaped by design, society, events, and by the wearers. And when a watch is restored and documented with care, it is not resurrected, it is recontextualized for a new era and for a new owner, maybe. Most watch books look backward. The Collectibles look sideways across time, design, social change, and intent. It doesn't just archive, it connects. It connects past and present, watchmakers and wearers, mechanics and meaning. And that is the real power of this incredible volume. So what is the Collectibles really? It is part encyclopedia, part curator's gallery, part restoration manifesto, and entirely a book that respects history without fossilizing it. So, what are your thoughts? Which of the 17 watches in the Collectibles resonates with you the most? Design, story, or innovation? Do you think restoration adds or subtracts meaning from historical watches? And what is your own threshold for what makes a watch a collectible versus a museum piece? As always, I want to hear from you, so drop me a comment, send me a message, tell me which book you want next, because this series is about stories, it's about context, and why these objects still matter today. This is Watches and Politics. Subscribe, share with the collector who always asks why, not just what. And I'll see you in the next chapter.